If you need to use a lot of slow motion sequences to pad out your episode, maybe don't put them at the climax. Let's get to it, shall we?
You should see me in a tank top.
Are you coffee?
The Outer Limits.
We open on a Los Angeles man desperately trying to get an education, when Mr. Zeno appears with the bad news that the Educational Enrichment Program office is closed for the day. The man is apparently upset about Zeno's tutoring of his son, and Zeno uses mind control to make him jump out the window to his death. Zeno then telepathically communicates with his superiors, who tell him to try again on the East Coast. Then, in a New York apartment building, Mr. Zeno materializes from a bolt of lightning and enters the home of Roy Benjamin, his wife Mrs. Cunningham, Aggie, and their gifted son Kenny.
Hey, Kenny!
That's awesome, Kenny.
So no gosh darn it, those. My name's not Kenny.
Mr. Zeno explains that he is from the Educational Enrichment Program and will be giving Kenny private lessons on a regular basis. He says, as a representative of the US government, he is tasked with treating gifted children with as much care and nurturing as the government shows to native wildlife. Aggie thinks it's wonderful, but Roy worries that they might be putting too much on the boy, what with Little League and all. We then learn that Roy and Aggie were both part of a government project involving atomic energy, where they were both exposed to high levels of radiation, but deemed perfectly healthy afterwards, because the government would never lie about that sort of thing. Mr. Zeno then tells them the good news, that as a result of this radiation, their son was born a mutant.
Well, I wouldn't worry about it, Mr. Benjamin. I'd be proud.
The parents then allow this complete stranger to meet their son and go alone with him to his bedroom. The 60s were a different time, man. A few days later, Roy comes home early from work to be a jerk to his wife and play ball with Kenny.
Yes, dear.
Kenny!
Roy, I'm on the phone.
But Kenny says he can't play, that Mr. Zeno is on his way to have another special session with him in his room. Apparently, this has been happening with increased frequency, and Aggie isn't at all bothered by it. While waiting for Zeno, another man arrives, Joe, and instead of wondering why he would show up while Roy was supposed to be at work... Look, I know people used to be more trusting in the past, but this is kind of ridiculous. Roy takes the opportunity to check his son's homework and question why Kenny seems to be learning about elements that haven't yet been discovered.
If Ken says there are 125 elements, there are 125. 102, want to bet?
After Joe leaves, Roy confronts his son, but Kenny brushes him off. Roy then tries to talk to Zeno, but once again fails to get any answers. He tries to talk to his wife, but she just thinks he's acting jealous of his son's affections. When Zeno leaves, Roy tries to catch him in the elevator, but Zeno mysteriously disappears. That night, Zeno meets with Kenny in Kenny's room to demonstrate global warming and discuss his alien breathing needs.
There.
Just like an amphibian.
The noise wakes Roy, who watches Zeno walk out of his son's bedroom and vanish into thin air. Then, Roy starts to have doubts about what's going on. Finally, he tries again to get answers from his son without much success, and the next day, he goes to the Educational Enrichment Program office and discovers that they don't send private tutors to people's homes. Instead of going directly to the police with the sane but disturbing news that a stranger has weaseled his way into a child's bedroom for the last week or so, Roy figures it would make more sense to start talking about aliens and threats to the whole world.
He'll destroy my son. Maybe the government. Maybe the whole world. Mr. Benjamin, please, you look like a reasonable man.
Zeno finds out about Roy and confers with his superiors, inadvertently revealing to the audience that he is using the boy as part of an invasion plot. Roy manages to convince his wife that he's not insane by showing her how Kenny can walk through walls. But still, Kenny doesn't want to tell them what's happening.
Kenny.
Now cut it out, Ken. We want to know what's happening right now.
When Zeno arrives again that night, Roy bursts in on them and learns the whole truth. Zeno tries to get Roy to kill himself, but then Kenny reveals that he has the power to turn the whole apartment into a snow globe that is only toxic to Zeno, while explaining that he's been forced to play along with Zeno's plan long enough to figure out how to defeat the alien threat. Then, since there's still nearly 10 minutes left in the episode, Zeno takes a long time to suffocate in extreme slow motion. Seriously, even when watching in fast forward, this part is painfully slow. Because the writers don't want to turn a child into a murderer, though, Kenny decides to let Zeno go, but he reassures his parents that he'll give his machine to the government, who can totally be trusted to fight off the alien invasion, with plenty of time left over for Kenny to start Little League. I can't deny this episode is deeply flawed, but it's still one of the best stories The Outer Limits has tried to tell. I know I sound like a broken record, but once again, the hour-long runtime drags the whole thing down. There's an intelligent psychodrama in here that is centered on a father worried that he's losing his son, and the idea that the son is the real hero of the story, underestimated by both his father and his alien would-be slave master, is incredibly clever. I also think the acting for MacDonald Carey as Roy is great. Unfortunately, though, the absurdly lengthy, slowed-down climax with a tornado of confetti superimposed over the screen is difficult to sit through, and combined with the monologue from a child actor that caps it all off...
I know I was rough on you, Dad, but I couldn't let you gum things up. I had to figure out the right atmosphere combination that would make it impossible for beings like him to ever set foot on Earth again.
This ensures that the episode leaves a terrible last impression. And that's all I have on the special one. Now, as always, do all those YouTube-y things, check out my Patreon, and all that other good stuff. But until next time, this is the Unapologetic Geek, telling you to never be ashamed of what you love.
I mean, as long as you're not hurting anybody.